Rabbit Hole Roundup, episode 42. What is freedom of speech? So guys, in today's edition of the Rabbit Hole Roundup, we're going to be talking about what freedom of speech actually is and what it protects.
What did you say?
Because there's been some interesting talk going on with regards to Brazil banning X, or the Telegram founder being arrested. And so something tells me that these politicians and these people in power, quote unquote, don't really understand what freedom of speech is and what it's actually designed to protect. We're also going to be talking about Dwight Howard offering up an interesting conspiracy when it comes to the Defensive Player of the Year this past week on Gil's Arena, which has actually become one of my favorite NBA podcasts. I'm also going to be playing a Rob Schneider clip that's very interesting and very truthful when it comes to freedom of speech. We're also going to be talking about Elle Macphereson taking a natural route to healing her dire health diagnosis and actually getting better that way, which I think we all can do, but why did the media smear her for this? And in addition to that, we're also going to be talking about rapper MGK, rapper and also country or rock music star MGK, talking about the secrets behind the pyramids.
The conspiracies are real.
So as evidence, we have a very interesting episode up ahead, so without further ado, let's dive into it right now.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know that, must mean you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on this video, follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through It by Jared Weiss. All the links to purchase it are on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JaredRyanWeiss.com. If you guys could support me with that, it would mean a lot to me, and any support that you guys give me is very much appreciated. So, let's dive into this rabbit hole now. So first up, in a slew of anti-free speech stories, we have first off, Brazil and their dictator or duly elected president bans X. Then on top of that, we have France arresting Telegram co-founder Pavel Durov got arrested this past week for things that were said on his platform that led to harmful events. But do we really think the people in power are protecting us by not allowing us to interact with true free speech on all these platforms? Do we really believe that? Because I sure as hell don't.
Hell no!
Let me actually start this topic off with a very powerful Rob Schneider clip, which actually ties everything in perfectly. Alright, listen up. Powerful stuff right here. Very truthful. Comedian Rob Schneider, very well said here.
Is everything okay?
No.
Are you mad? You okay?
No, he is. No, he is.
You're mad?
Yeah.
That's okay. You know what the cool thing about it in America is? Free speech isn't the speech you like. Nice stuff's not what needs to be protected. It's the stuff that you hate that needs protection, so that somebody like the government or you doesn't get to decide what everybody else gets to hear. Okay? And you're more than welcome to disagree and write an act and get on stage and sell out like I just did. You know?
So, he's actually 1,000% right there. Freedom of speech is actually designed and made to protect speech that you don't like. It's not about protecting things that are popular. It's about protecting things that we don't like to hear. And then the whole thing is, if something that someone says isn't good, and if something that someone says is quote unquote harmful or whatnot, the thing is, you'll actually have better speech to stamp that out.
Frog is wrong.
So, disinformation, misinformation is actually, yes, those things are actually protected by freedom of speech, in spite of what this politician buffoon Tim Walz will have you believe. Yes, freedom of speech does mean the right to say things that are unpopular. Now, having said that, of course, are there consequences to our speech? Yes. So, for instance, that's why we have things like defamation of character, because you can't just falsely claim that someone said this when that wasn't true. But having said that, freedom of speech allows you to say any unpopular opinion. We have to get back to that. We have to stop agreeing with these politicians who are trying so hard to stamp out ideas that are harmful to them, but things that we actually need to be talking about. Whether it's hidden history, whether it's truth about health and certain pharmaceuticals. As Mark Zuckerberg admitted recently, our federal government interfered in Facebook to get rid of all this information when it comes to certain health topics because they didn't want any conversation around this.
It's deliberate. Deliberate, I tell you!
So, it's a very dangerous precedent to set when you have the government getting involved in what are supposed to be free speech platforms that have essentially become the public square and where all these conversations are actually happening. And remember, as I'm pretty sure Benjamin Franklin once said, they who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. It's very true, and that's also like the whole reason why every false flag event actually happens. It's designed to make you think that like these people need to curtail our speech in order to prevent violence or in order to prevent hate speech or violent rhetoric. But I'd much rather have hate speech being said and having better speech stamped that out, as opposed to having people like hiding how they truly feel and hiding what they truly believe. Because if you're doing that, you're never going to end up getting the best ideas. You're only going to be getting whatever ideas are approved. And as Rob Schneider said in that clip, the beautiful thing when it comes to freedom of speech is that you don't have to listen to everyone.
I'm not mad at you. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with you anymore.
You don't have to listen to every idea. But like, you do need to protect people's rights to say unpopular things and say how they truly feel. Because otherwise you end up in a totalitarian 1984 type of society, which I don't think any of us want to live in, even though some of you may be convinced that like doing that is the safer, better way, but it's not. I think like the reason why X is being banned in Brazil, the reason why the Telegram founder got arrested, the reason why Mark Zuckerberg is suddenly coming out and telling you how the government actually stepped in and tried to censor freedom of speech when it came to the whole COVID information stuff. I think like all this is designed to fearmonger and scare big tech into playing along and scare people into actually self-censoring themselves. Because when you see all these consequences going on for people who are trying to promote freedom of speech, it's going to make any new platforms out there afraid to get involved, and it's going to make a lot of content creators out there afraid to speak up about these things.
Why did the policeman have to yell at me like that?
So, once again, very dangerous precedent set. So, I'm definitely all for freedom of speech. Aside from anyone actually breaking laws, such as things when it comes to putting child stuff on there, or sexually explicit stuff on there, or things that they're actually like promoting violence towards someone. And like, I don't mean joking around, and I don't mean things like have to be implied 5 different ways, but like when it comes to actual violence and when it comes to they're actually breaking the law.
If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Anything outside of that needs to be allowed to be said, because otherwise you're actually going to be allowing more hate to hide under the rug, and you're not going to allow better speech or even just like overall conversations about these topics to be had. Next up, on the more lighter side of things, I have a very interesting Dwight Howard clip from this past week when he went on one of my new favorite NBA podcasts, Gil's Arena, with Gilbert Arenas. Something about the podcast, like the people who are on it like always seem to keep it real and talk about like a lot of very interesting topics. So like for any of my NBA fans, basketball fans out there, you guys should definitely check that out if you haven't done so already. But like, let's watch the clip when it comes to Dwight Howard's conspiracy as to why Rudy Gobert got picked for Defensive Player of the Year.
You can't do that. You can't compare. Hold on a second. Hold on before we move any further. Before we're not gonna do this.
Come on,
We're not just gonna bring Lakers into the fucking conversation just because we ain't talked about the Lakers.
2020 NBA champion with the Lakers, play with
I
Anthony
think
Davis.
Politics why ADA got it.
You think so?
And why Rudy Gobert got it. I think Rudy Gobert got it because they wanted to make sure the next couple years they got Wemby to be the #1 pick. He from France. Yeah. They trying to make sure that they get this money on the other end, so they got to make sure they think about it. Who just got drafted this year?
Zachary Ristache.
And another French kid. So they got to make sure this French connection going crazy. Where was the Olympics at?
It wasn't there.
Hey, but
okay.
Who won the
NBA all about money, right?
I get it. Who won the Defensive Player of the Year? The bubble check. Who won the Defensive Player of the Year?
Was it Kawhi? No.
Oh no. AD didn't win it.
No.
Who was supposed? Did Rudy win it that year?
No.
We are efforting right now.
Won.
He was the MVP.
They defended everybody.
Giannis won it.
Who won?
2020.
Giannis won it over AD.
Giannis won it?
He won MVP
over AD.
Yeah, I ain't gonna.
See, why you think he won it?
Prime shit.
International. They trying to get that international money.
Because the European players are better than Americans. Going forward.
So, why do I think that this clip is actually so interesting? Especially because, what do we know about the NBA? They're going to take money from anywhere they can get it. Whether it's China, whether it's France, they're trying to get as much money as they possibly can, even if it's coming from slave labor, aka Nike. But Dwight Howard makes a very interesting point here when it comes to the whole French connection.
Bonjour, Jean.
And the NBA trying to make all its French money. And especially because, as many of us could clearly see, the NBA is definitely going more worldwide, more international. So how do you get more of the viewers from the other countries? Now, don't get me wrong. I think Rudy Gobert actually is like a very good defender, and like I do think a very good team defender when it comes to playing in certain schemes and whatnot. But like having said that, I have heard a lot of people, a lot of former NBA players, saying that like Rudy Gobert does not deserve to be a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Now, if you make him a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, as Dwight Howard just said, what ends up happening? You end up getting this new NBA superstar on the rise in Victor Wembanyama. You have the number 1 pick in the NBA draft being another French guy, and where was the Olympics this year? In France. All very interesting points right there. And what do we see going on in the NBA? We're definitely getting tons more international stars than ever in the past. So, is the NBA all about show me the money?
Show me the money.
That's definitely what it seems like. Furthermore, in the next topic, which is also like another NBA related topic. Now, of course, although as I'm always saying, any type of celebrity worship or idol worship is definitely dangerous, and you don't want to see these people as so special that like therefore you can't do anything like they're doing, especially because like a lot of these celebrities aren't actually good people, and a lot of them have done some dark things to get there. But also, like as I'm always saying as well, we can learn things from everyone. And I actually think like a lot of truthers out there miss out on helping themselves when it comes to being successful, because a lot of times they're actually going to discard anyone who isn't a truther, or they're going to not take advice from anyone who isn't a perfect person.
I will never understand people.
They're the worst.
But what I think is like, you'd actually be foolish to not take advice from people who are super successful in whatever field it might be. This doesn't mean like them telling you guys to model your whole lifestyles after them, or to try to be exactly like them and try to live in this whole materialistic world and to sell out for money. But having said that, you'd be a fool like to not listen to like Tom Brady's advice on football or for being successful. You'd be a fool like to not want to hear about Kobe Bryant or LeBron James's work ethic, etc., etc. Insert whatever example you want. And of course, some people out there who are super successful and who are super high up, I wouldn't tell you to take any advice from them because some of them are like ultra dark, but we're not going to get into that for right now. All I'm saying is that when it comes to super successful people, there's definitely a lot to be learned when it comes to their mindset, when it comes to their work ethic, when it comes to their drive, and I think like it's definitely possible for all of us like to implement those things into our own lives. So, moving into this topic, the past few weeks I've actually been watching this very interesting NBA documentary which is called Pass the Rock. It's basically about all these upcoming NBA superstars and how they actually reach this point in their lives, their work ethic, their passion for the game, their love for the game. So like me being both a fan of the game of basketball as well as a player of the game for my whole life, and someone who sees basketball as a passion as well as a metaphor for many other areas of our lives, as well as sports as a whole. So anyways, while watching this documentary, I've actually noticed something very interesting, which is like, some of these guys seem to have pre-written answers where they're just trying to say and do as they're told, but my favorites, as well as my brother's favorites, because my younger brother is actually the one who recommended this to me, because both of us are huge basketball players and fans, but both of our favorites are actually the ones who are being truly authentic. You can definitely feel whenever someone isn't being truthful to themselves, whenever someone is just going along to get along, and so I feel like this is definitely a powerful lesson for any of us in our own lives. The people who we're truly going to appreciate, and the ones who most of us are actually going to resonate with, are the ones who are being truly themselves, who've stepped into their truly authentic expression of who they are, and who are following their purpose. Not the ones who are just saying pre-written, pre-recorded responses
Biscuits and gravy.
just to sound good. As the famous quote goes, I'd much rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. So I just felt like that was a powerful lesson to be learned from this documentary. And I would definitely recommend any of you guys who are into basketball to go check that out as well. The next topic I want to get into has to do with Elle Macphereson and her natural healing journey, which obviously totally relates to me and my whole holistic healing journey.
I am a holistic healer. It's a calling. It's a gift.
And my belief in the powers of holistic health. Now, to start things off, just to be clear, wink wink, of course this is all satire, and I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist, and I'm not being serious at all, wink wink. But I saw an article the other day that came out that said that Elle Macphereson refused chemotherapy, and then like at the end of the article it actually says like she got better, she's actually in remission from her cancer diagnosis. I'm actually going to read this to you guys. Elle Macphereson says she was diagnosed with breast cancer 7 years ago and refused chemotherapy. Famed model Elle Macphereson revealed on Monday that she's been living with a breast cancer diagnosis for 7 years, all while eschewing chemotherapy. In an interview with Australian Women's Weekly, the 60-year-old explained why she opted against the standard treatment in favor of what she called a more holistic approach. It was a shock, it was unexpected, it was confusing, it was daunting in so many ways, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model said of the diagnosis in the interview published Monday, and it really gave me an opportunity to dig deep in my inner sense to find a solution that worked for me. Macphereson, who has an upcoming book, Elle, said it was difficult for her to take this non-traditional path. I chose a holistic approach. Saying no to standard medical solutions was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but saying no to my own inner sense would have been even harder, she wrote, according to excerpts quoted by Australian Women's Weekly. Sometimes an authentic choice from the heart makes no sense to others, but it doesn't have to. Especially because these journeys are our own. So like, if we end up doing something just because society wants to, or just because that's like the conventional way, who ends up getting hurt? Especially in this case, we do. She goes on to say, people thought I was crazy.
You're not crazy.
But I knew I had to make a choice that truly resonated with me, Macphereson wrote. To me, that meant addressing emotional as well as physical factors associated with breast cancer. It was time for deep inner reflection, and that took courage. Her medical team consists of a naturopathic practitioner, a holistic dentist, an osteopath, a chiropractor, and therapist. She's alive and well today. Why did they save that part for the end of the article? In traditional terms, they'd say I'm in clinical remission, but I would say I'm in utter wellness. And I am, Macphereson said. Which actually reminds me of one of my naturopaths often said lines, which is, he's not about managing disease, he's about promoting wellness, which I fully love and I fully agree with. Truly, from every perspective, every blood test, every scan, every imaging test, but also emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, not only physically. It's not only what your blood tests say, it's how and why you are living your life on all levels. And of course, they have to add in at the end, Macphereson has a history of publicly embracing unconventional and controversial approaches to medicine. She once dated disgraced British physician Andrew Wakefield and helped him promote his anti-vaccine movie 1986, The Act. Wakefield is best known for making a discredited link between measles, vaccines, and autism, a disproven claim that made him a prominent figure in the anti-vaccine movement, which is totally the truth, and you guys need to believe as you're told. Now, to be clear, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't make any diagnosis, but what I will say is that cancer, just as with any other diagnosis, is oftentimes a combination of lifestyle factors, toxicity on all levels, whether it be emotional, physical, spiritual. Oftentimes, we're exposed to so many toxins, whether it be through our medicine, through our food supply, through the air, through our thoughts, through toxic friendships. And then what ends up happening, when that toxin cup, essentially, metaphorically speaking, boils over, then our body can't handle that toxicity anymore, so it ends up creating tumors, it ends up creating ways of storing that toxicity that end up manifesting as very uncomfortable symptoms, pain, and these are actually designed to get us to make a change in our lives.
You can change, you can adapt.
But I think that anything can be healed from, and I think that like if we do address every factor in our lifestyle and we give it enough time, enough effort, enough trial and error, enough constant adjustment, we end up getting better and we end up healing, as is the case with Elle Macphereson. So keep going, you're doing great. I'm still on my holistic journey, but like I made so much progress, as many of you guys know, and if you guys don't know, you can read about it in my book, Fight Through It, and like I can definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know how close I am to being fully healed. But like, I'm definitely doing things that, like every conventional doctor was telling me wouldn't be possible for someone like me who was in the situation that I was in. And I'm only getting better over time. Also, what do many of us in the whole natural health world actually know when it comes to chemotherapy? What is it actually? It's radiation, which is also like one of the causes for cancer. So then, and once again, this is totally satire, this is totally a joke, but like, chemotherapy is poisoning cancer cells, and the whole science behind that is that like, it's about killing the cancer cells, but the cancer cells are actually part of us.
Am I so sane that you just blew your mind?
So like, what else is it killing? It's also killing healthy cells, which is why so many people will claim to be in remission after chemotherapy, but then like, how often does it happen where like, it ends up coming back stronger and worse than ever before, as opposed to actually healing the root cause of the disease, which is all the toxicity. I'm not telling anyone what to do with their health, but like, I'm telling you guys to look into these things for yourselves. And yes, once again, it's a total joke. I'm not giving you guys health advice. Chemotherapy is totally healthy and totally fine for you, but look into it. Look into more holistic, natural ways of approaching your health. Look into whatever lifestyle factor needs to be changed. Look into improving your thoughts, improving your friend groups, eating better, eating higher quality food, not poisoning yourself both mentally, spiritually, and physically. Detox the body. Detox the mind. Not adding more of a toxic load to it. Because if you do that, you're just gonna be prolonging the issue. And like, the issue is a lot of people don't even know like that there are holistic alternative approaches to healing the body. Because of course, what would happen if all this word got out when it came to natural healing for cancer or for any other serious diagnosis? What would happen to that whole industry? And once again, total joke, total nonsense. But take back control of your health It takes time to really heal. There are no quick fixes, there are no shortcuts, but like any type of healing can be done, I truly believe, if we get back to understanding the cause of dis-ease and what's actually making us sick. So now, the final video I want to share in this week's Rabbit Hole Roundup is MGK, aka Machine Gun Kelly, rapper / rock star, talking about the truth about how the pyramids were actually formed. It's very interesting stuff. Let's watch together.
Well, I want to hear your hot take on the pyramids. They were built with frequency. Like those stones were literally picked up with levitated. Like they still, I don't know why this isn't even publicized, but there were dishes, right, round massive sized bowls discovered all around the perimeter of the pyramid, in which, you know, I love this study of this guy who he went, I don't know if he had cancer, I don't know what it was, but he essentially, this is in the early 1900s, so like 1920s era, he went over to Tibet or to India, somewhere in East Asia, and he got footage of them because he was embraced by them because to fix his sickness or something like that. And he was embraced by them, and they trusted him enough to show them this process of how they pick these massive cylinders up, and they would have yaks drag the blocks over these big bowls, and then they would point giant horns and huge drums. Like all the sound was focused, you know, maybe in like a half cylinder like this towards this one point, and they would play it and they would chant and they would hum, and the stones would lift and it would go to this place in the cliff where they wanted it to go. So like the bowls would essentially catch the sound and the frequency would lift it. And if you even listen to the building of the pyramids, they all talk about there was chanting. You know, that was a very common through line.
So I don't know for sure whether it was giants who built the pyramids or whether it was some type of frequency or some type of ancient technology. But like, what I can tell you guys is like the official narrative for how the pyramids got built does not add up in any way, shape, or form.
It just don't add up!
Now, I'm pretty sure the person who he was referring to, who actually healed their cancer diagnosis through frequency, I'm pretty sure he's most likely referring to Royal Rife and Royal Rife Technology, who's actually this guy. I'm not sure what years this guy was around, but like he discovered how frequency could actually be used to heal the body and to get it back to its natural state of health. And also like back in the 1800s or back in all the times of Tartaria, when many of us know who've looked into all this old world technology. The buildings had antennas. It was all about harnessing the power of the ether. You have Nikola Tesla bringing about free energy, and I also like fully believe that like our world actually runs on frequency, which is why you have the Schumann resonance in the earth, which is why love is always going to be the highest frequency, and then things like fear, hate, toxicity will always be the lowest. But this reminds me of how powerful we are, and we're not just these purely mechanical and robotic beings. We have a spiritual sense, we have an electrical sense, we have a spiritual and a physical sense, mind, body, spirit, and to neglecting these is actually neglecting our true power. And so I believe that like our world is way more interesting than like what we've been told, and we are all way more powerful beings than what we've been told. But of course, certain technology has been destroyed, history has been destroyed as a way of hiding our true power and hiding all these past advanced civilizations from us. Anyways guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, be sure to drop a like, leave a comment. Check out my book Fight Through by Jared Weiss. I will catch you guys in the next video. Spread love, spread peace, positivity, stay grinding, stay hustling, stay asking questions. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.